Now, it's my proud privilege to introduce Dr. Nilesh Mehta to this august gathering, who is the invited speaker and faculty for this conference. And he is currently the 42nd President of the American Society of Parenteral and Enteral Nutrition. He currently holds the position of Director, Critical Care Nutrition, Associate Medical Director and Director of Quality and Outcomes in the Medical and Surgical ICU, Department of Anesthesiology, Critical Care and Pain Medicine at Boston Children's Hospital. He is also Associate Professor of Anesthesia at prestigious Harvard Medical School. His clinical and research focus is on metabolic and nutritional management of critically ill children and its impact on their recovery. Dr. Mehta has over 100 publications, and he is co-editor of the only textbook in the field of pediatric critical care nutrition. He is recipient of Stanley J. Dudrick Award. I think all those people who know Stanley, this is the most prestigious award in the recognition of his exceptional research, productivity, and the potential to continue to contribute the nutritional therapy. He has served Aspen for last 10 years as in the different position, like Chair of the Pediatric Nutrition Definition Working Group, Chair of the Corporate Scientific Advisory Council, Co-Chair of the Research Workshop, Society of Critical Care Medicine, Aspen, then Director of Aspen Board of Directors, Chair of Working Group of Pediatric Critical Care Nutrition Guidelines, and now is currently the President of Aspen. So please welcome Dr. Nilesh Mehta.
Generous introduction. Thank you to the organizers. This is just a terrific conference. I'm so proud that all of you are together, and the connections that we are forming will last a lifetime. When I was invited, I was obviously very humbled. I am not worthy of being here in this position, but I said to myself, it's a great opportunity to come to my hometown, which is Mumbai. I grew up here. I was talking to Dr. Supe. I actually trained at King Edward Memorial Hospital, where he's the dean, and it's just been such a wonderful 2-3 days with all of you. So thank you. I particularly thank the organizers. This is put together as such a nice scientific discourse that I'm sure all of us, including myself, have learned something and will continue to use this opportunity to stay connected. I was asked to speak for a few minutes here, and I thought I'd spend the next 10 to 12 minutes saying something about me, something about Aspen, and something about our field as to where we are going. I don't have any conflict of interest. I will not discuss or endorse any commercial products during my talk. It's a pleasure to work with Aspen, and like so many other societies and organizations that bring us together in an academic endeavor, Aspen too started off several years ago. It's an interdisciplinary organization, and that's perhaps the most important part about Aspen, which is it includes dietitians, physicians, nursing, respiratory therapists, pharmacists, and students. And it's that piece that attracted me to Aspen. And over the last 10-15 years, critical care has become an extremely important part of Aspen. And together, we are now close to 7,000 members from several countries. Aspen, the core values of Aspen are very similar to core values of so many other organizations, including IAPEN. And the most important thing we endeavor to do is to improve patient outcomes. To achieve that, one needs to have the combined vision and a mission and chart out the pathway so that we can do this in a systematic fashion. We focus on quality of healthcare that you provide, and we focus on discovery. And it's without discovery that we cannot move forward. And in the next few minutes, I'll show you some steps in my life trying to go and meet some of these core values of Aspen. The Aspen journals become a source of disseminating our discoveries and the hard work and clinical and research endeavors coming from you. The two journals are rapidly increasing in their impact factor and currently hold a pretty high position in our field. In addition to that, Aspen endeavors to provide toolkits to guide us, provide safe parenteral nutrition, enteral nutrition. This is just one example of several educational offerings. There are many such. Aspen clinical guidelines and resources try to bring the best evidence in a format that can be easily disseminated and used at the bedside. I just wanted to show you these things to give you a flavor of what we are doing in Aspen. The most important thing is the interdisciplinary nature of Aspen. And what I've shown you here are grassroots chapters and sections. These are people like you and me in cities like Mumbai and Boston and Texas who get together and are doing the hard work at the level of patient care. These chapters and sections identify the need of the times. They identify research questions, clinical problems, and bring it to a level that then benefits all. So you see the various sections and various folks involved. And it's fascinating. Each year we try to bring in new sections that deserve or are in need for a collaborative approach like this. So the oncology and the neonatal section was new last year. Our national meeting is this time going to be in March. It's in Phoenix. I really wish some of you could come. It is a fantastic opportunity, a platform such as this one that you've created for more than 2,000 to 3,000 individuals to come together from various disciplines, countries, to talk about nutrition. What I wanted to show here is simply this, that 1 in 3 attendees to the Aspen National Congress is an international attendee. So we are very proud of our ability to reach across regions and across the globe to come together. The session topics are here, and I was just mentioning to Dr. Keswani and Dr. Chamania that they'll be happy to hear that this time the plenary talk, or the Rhodes Lecture, will be given by Dr. David Herndon, one of the stalwarts of pediatric burn surgery, and he will discuss metabolism and nutrition over his lifetime and his work. So that's just a snapshot of Aspen. The history of Aspen is very much like most organizations. It was 1970s, and there was no parenteral nutrition in the 50s and 40s. And in the 60s, Dr. Stanley Dudrick, who you heard Dr. Chamania mention, starts beginning to address as a surgeon the problem of his patients post-operatively dying from malnutrition. And in those days, the lipid products developed in Europe were not very stable. There was no way to mix amino acid and glucose. You now go out and punch in the numbers and the machines automatically make parenteral nutrition. But those days he sat in the laboratory initially with patients, and he found he just did not have the products to do it and went back to animal laboratory. That beagle puppy is pretty famous in our community. It's called Stinky. That's the name Dr. Dudrick gave. And this beagle puppy is a thoroughbred, and he used his subclavian vein to cannulate and prepared different concoctions of parenteral nutrition to try to feed this puppy. The Lancet published the first report by Dr. Dudrick where the beagle puppies survived with parenteral nutrition initially for a month, 3 months, 6 months, and then 1 year. It was mind-blowing. People had never seen anyone survive without eating before that. So truly a pioneer in the field. He was the first president of Aspen. And even today, 2 weekends ago, I was in his home visiting him, and he still continues to inspire and pushing the field forward. The reason I show this is the field was developed because people endeavored to move it forward. And I think we are now here. We are benefiting from some of those works, but we have further work to do. And how do we push the field to the next decade? And each one of us owes it to the patients that we continue to innovate and discover and move it forward. 50 years since the discovery of PN, it is now the safety of PN that matters to us. And there's a lot of research in trying to come up with strategies to make it safe and effective. So we have our work cut out. This is 42 years of Aspen, so that's the first time the 42nd president. It's such a proud thing for me. Thank you. Such a proud moment for me because he's obviously a hero to all of us, but a very inspiring figure. I want to spend the next 5 minutes telling you where I think we need to go. As I said, unless we innovate and discover and continue to move the field forward, we will become irrelevant. It's very important for us to understand that much of the work that we do can be replaced. There are algorithms which will take over simple tasks, and there are innovative technology that is already replacing doctors and nurse dietitians. And I think it's time for us to see where we are in the next 10 years. The 3 points I want to make are, first, the pursuit of best practice with research. Are we confident that what we preach, what we are passionate about, is driven by good data, good evidence, and are we convinced that it then translates into the second point, which is we provide value, we provide improved outcomes, we provide economically viable solutions for our patients. And finally, how are we doing it? Are we doing it by ourselves in silos, or are we willing to come like this together at the local, regional, national, and then international level? Because that's what it will take to move forward at a pace which will be meaningful. The pursuit of best practice, I'll just show you a couple of things that I have particularly experienced and endeavored, and maybe that will strike up conversations, and maybe you will identify similarities. But setting the research agenda, thinking about innovative study designs, and then collaborative efforts to bring all those evidence accumulated to the bedside is the pathway. This is the Aspen research agenda published last year. It's important for us to identify the questions and then prioritize them. We don't have the time, the resources, the technology to answer every single question, and it's important to say, what's the priority? And that's what Aspen gathered a group of international task force to say, where do we need to go? I'd urge you to look at this publication. It's an interesting one that applies to each and every one of us. There is no difference between Bombay and Boston as to where the agenda is applicable. There are many points in the agenda, and I don't want you to read this slide, but the important ones are to try to standardize so that we speak the same language, and then think about how we leverage technology. You are in the world IT hub. It's a shame that today some of us have not harvested and harnessed the ability for technology to help us in nutrition and dietetics. You had some wonderful presentations in this conference about an entrepreneurship in that area coming from your own region. The second one is to come to some consensus on what is the agreed upon strategy, so that you can then discover whether that strategy works or not. Right now, we are in this chaotic space where everyone thinks they know how to practice, and as a result, no one is wiser as to what is truly helping patient outcomes. But I would urge you to look at that and not go into detail. This is my group at Boston Children's. I'm very fortunate to work with dedicated people who came into my group. These were mentored. Many of them have become independent researchers and leaders in the country in their own field, but we all work together. And I only wanted to show you this because of the various facets that we have tried to address in our research. And someday we will probably be able to do this together, even across the countries. The next question is, where do you get the money for research, the resources? And you can sit tight and say it is very difficult, or you can just continue to work hard. I show this is our group, and we are funded from almost every facet. We get funding from the government, we get funding from regional areas, we get funding from international grants. But what I wanted to show here is, there's just a snapshot of funding. For every funding that you are successful to, everyone here who's done this knows that there are 5 to 6 grants that you were not successful. So you have to continue to advocate for your research, write and reach out. There are people who have funding available, and every now and then you'll be successful and continue your work further. So don't be disheartened. It is not an easy process by any means. And it's important for you to be able to articulate why what you are proposing is important to do. Why is it going to matter to the patients? And once we start thinking along that pathway, it actually makes your process much more streamlined and your priorities very much in line. So grant funding and writing for grants, most frustrating. I won't go into details on some of the results from our grants. But the next piece is, yes, you start in your own. Collaboration is the key. I show you this effort trial. Many of you mentioned it during the workshop yesterday, but Aspen supports registry-based trials which are international, and you pick up simple questions. What is the amount of protein required for critically ill patients, low dose, high dose? And you gather people from multiple countries and you create registries and begin to address those questions. If you have an occasion to visit the website, go and take a look at what the effort study is. This is our work. We've done several international studies similarly to gather the pediatric critical care nutrition group together. And our most recent study finished 3 days ago, 7 days now, January 31st. And we had 70 sites from 14 countries in the world. And we have now 2,000 patients who are mechanically ventilated in critical care units across these hospitals. And we now have close to 4,000 patient database, which is beautifully curated by individual efforts. Sion Hospital was part of one of our sites this year, and we are so proud that each year we get more and more people interested in gathering the information in this remote database, which is the RedCap. It's a free remote data capture tool that we use in the United States, and we then provide benchmarking to every site, tell them how they perform compared to others, and then begin to start using this platform for research. So more to come on that. And then finally, you bring this research together in guidelines, and as you heard, the SCCM and Aspen collaborated to come up with guidelines in various aspects. The last part is what is the outcome? So the outcomes are not going to be mortality anymore, because you can't say that I'm giving good diet and you will survive. We need to think about more meaningful outcomes, and these are decreasing mortalities across the world in critically ill patients. And we are now more worried about physical impairments. Are you able to be a productive member in the society after you just encountered that illness? And muscle protein is one of the areas of interest for us. So I won't show you some of this, but this slide is an interesting one, which says, yes, you feel very passionate about the work that you do and you provide good nutrition, but I'm sorry, it's not going to work on its own. Good nutrition has to collaborate with physical therapy and with other modalities that are together going to improve outcomes. And these are just some non-nutritive strategies that we use in the field, and in addition to nutrition, to improve muscle mass preservation after critical illness. So just an example. I talked to you about app-based. We use an app-based follow-up. Our patients cannot afford to come back to the hospital repeatedly to clinics. And with apps, we are following their quality of life, muscle strength, what they are able to do. And again, bring it back to, did nutrition impact that? And that's where it becomes meaningful. And finally, I'll end by saying that the Aspen organization is like IAPEN and IDA, looking forward to collaborations. And I'll end by giving you just a small snapshot of what Aspen does in terms of collaborating. So here's the Aspen International member community, and you will note that the Global Nutrition Partnership Program is something that we developed after years of listening to our sister societies in other countries. With the way the dollars and the pounds and the euros and the rupees fluctuate, an individual dietitian is unable to reach out to these organizations and come to these meetings and avail of all the opportunities and learning resources that are available. The Global Nutrition Partnership was developed to address that by saying, based on the economic strata of the various regions in the world, there will be significantly discounted rates to join organizations, and Aspen is not the only one that does that. And I wanted to just highlight some of the opportunities that the Global Nutrition Partnership provides. An individual who joins an organization such as IAPEN, who if became part of the Global Nutrition Partnership, is able to get all the Aspen membership benefits at a significantly reduced rate. Someone from Afghanistan would, for $10 a year, become a full-fledged Aspen member and get unlimited access to all the resources. So it's something to be aware of, and I'm so proud to say that IAPN this year joined Aspen as a global partner, so instantly IAPN members get access to all the Aspen resources. Aspen is a not-for-profit organization, and this is why it was created. It's a shame that it took us so long to get there. But you can see people from all over the world, societies from all over the world are part of the Global Nutrition Program. Here's your leadership, the representatives at IAPN. I'm so thankful to Dr. Chamania for his efforts to bring the individual members connected to Aspen, and I look forward to meaningful collaboration between our two organizations. This is just the first step. I want to sincerely thank you again for this opportunity. I can't tell you how nice it is to talk with each and every one of you. I'm really grateful for the dignitaries. It's a pleasure to share this conference, faculty and the membership with them. And I'm so delighted to see all the leaders from the country, Dr. Keswani and Dr. Chamania, with the burn metabolism, which is perhaps for us a model of how nutrition has been studied, applied, and has impacted outcomes in not just burn, but we should be using it for various other illnesses. And Dr. Supe comes from my alma mater. It was just, I could talk with him forever and share memories of King Edward Memorial. It's also lovely to talk with Dr. Madan, and the IDA work that she's doing is just fascinating.